We often hear that kindness is a strength, a bridge to harmony and understanding in our relationships. Society lauds it as a noble virtue, encouraging us to practice compassion and generosity. However, what if we've been misled by this widely accepted belief? What if the kindness we so eagerly extend to others isn't an authentic expression of our inner goodness, but rather a subtle, insidious betrayal of our true selves? Beneath the surface, could it be a mechanism that others exploit to manipulate and control us while we mistakenly believe we are exercising our freedom? In our pursuit of kindness, we sometimes overlook the profound truth that unbridled generosity can lead to our undoing. It can create an imbalance that drains our energy and erodes our self-respect. When we prioritize the happiness and comfort of others at the expense of our own needs and boundaries, we risk losing our identity. The danger lies in the misconception that constant kindness is a hallmark of virtue. This belief can trap us in a cycle of self-sacrifice, leading to resentment and inner turmoil. It's time to confront this uncomfortable reality and recognize the cost of misplaced kindness. Today, we must bravely face a stark truth. Kindness, when practiced without discernment, has the potential to ruin our lives. This is a realization that many choose to ignore, preferring instead to don a facade of perpetual goodwill. Yet behind that smiling mask often lurks a deeper struggle, an internal conflict that arises when our kindness becomes a burden rather than a blessing. True fortitude is not about yielding to every request or sacrificing our desires to maintain an image of niceness. It is about understanding when to say no and prioritizing our own well-being. The essence of genuine strength lies in the ability to assert ourselves and maintain our boundaries in a world that often pressures us to conform. Stoicism, with its emphasis on inner resilience and self-control, provides valuable insights into how we can navigate these complexities. It teaches us that true courage involves standing firm in our convictions and not bending to external expectations merely to appease others. This path requires a profound understanding of ourselves and the recognition that our worth is not contingent on how others perceive our kindness. In embracing the teachings of Stoicism, we learn that strength comes from within. It encourages us to reflect on our motivations and to act with intention, rather than simply reacting to the demands of those around us. When we cultivate a sense of self-awareness, we become better equipped to distinguish between authentic kindness and the kind that drains our spirit. This discernment allows us to engage with the world meaningfully while safeguarding our inner peace. Ultimately, the journey to reclaim our strength begins with the courage to be honest about our limitations and to resist the urge to please others at our own expense. It invites us to redefine our understanding of kindness, not as an obligation, but as a choice that stems from genuine care, grounded in self-respect. By doing so, we can break free from the chains of false kindness and embrace a more authentic existence, one where we can truly thrive without sacrificing our essence. Number 1. Kindness as a weapon against yourself. In the annals of history, few figures stand as tall as Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor revered for his Stoic philosophy. He provides us with a vital reminder in an age where the clamor of the outside world often threatens to drown out our inner voice. Aurelius cautioned us against the dangers of losing ourselves amidst the chaos of others. In his view, kindness, while an admirable trait, can easily morph into a double-edged sword if wielded without discernment. When we offer our kindness indiscriminately, it can become a weapon aimed directly at our own souls, leading us down a path of self-neglect and depletion. Imagine a situation where kindness flows freely. At first, it feels empowering and fulfilling to help others, to be the beacon of light in someone else's darkness. However, this unbounded generosity can lead to unintended consequences. When kindness is offered without caution, it opens the door for others to take advantage of it. We give, and they take. We compromise, and they consume. With each act of unchecked benevolence, we may inadvertently invite others to exploit our goodwill, draining us of our energy and spirit. Before long, we find ourselves transformed into mere shells of our former selves, hollowed out by those who misconstrue our kindness as weakness. This predicament highlights a profound truth about the human experience. Kindness should never come at the expense of our own well-being. The Stoic philosophy, which emphasizes self-control, resilience, and the importance of maintaining one's integrity, teaches us that true strength lies not in blind generosity, but in the judicious application of our compassion. Self-sacrifice for the sake of others may seem noble, but when taken to the extreme, it becomes a form of self-sabotage. Instead of being a source of strength, our kindness can lead us down a slippery slope of self-erosion. The teachings of Epictetus, another towering figure in Stoicism, offer a crucial perspective on this issue. He famously stated, "You become what you give attention to." This aphorism serves as a guiding principle in our quest for balance. When we give our kindness without measure, we inadvertently divert our attention away from our own needs and aspirations. We become so preoccupied with nurturing others that we neglect the cultivation of our own inner garden. In this process, we risk losing sight of our purpose and our core identity, ultimately leading us to lose everything that defines us. It is vital then to establish boundaries around our kindness. We must learn to differentiate between acts of genuine compassion and those that leave us feeling drained and unfulfilled. It is not selfish to prioritize our own well-being. In fact, it is an essential practice for sustaining our capacity to help others effectively. By nurturing ourselves, we fortify our ability to extend kindness in a manner that is both authentic and restorative, rather than depleting. Number 2, drowning in the needs of others. In the modern world, a man who constantly extends his hand often finds himself ensnared in the depths of others' desires. What begins as a noble act of kindness can swiftly transform into an overwhelming burden. Each time you say yes to someone else's requests, you risk being pulled deeper into a chaotic sea of demands, where your own aspirations and well-being are left to flounder. The more you give of yourself without discernment, the more your own inner fortress begins to crumble, weakened by neglect and exhaustion. Imagine a sturdy castle, built over years, standing proud against the winds of life. Now picture that same castle besieged by the relentless tides of others' chaos. In your eagerness to help, you may unwittingly become a lifeline for those who continually seek more from you, draining your energy and resources. Instead of reinforcing your own defenses, you find yourself caught in a cycle of obligation, sacrificing your time and peace for the fleeting satisfaction of others. This paradox reveals a painful truth. While you aim to be kind, you may be inadvertently dismantling your own strength and resilience. Seneca, the wise Stoic moralist, would caution us against this fate, asserting that, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." Each moment spent indulging the seemingly endless needs of others is time we can never reclaim. By prioritizing their demands over our own needs, we subject ourselves to a slow erosion of our spirit. In essence, we begin to waste our lives, trading our potential and dreams for a hollow sense of obligation. This misplaced kindness, far from being a virtue, becomes a silent thief, stealing our most precious resource, time. As you navigate these waters, it's crucial to recognize the difference between genuine kindness and self-destructive behavior. True kindness is rooted in strength and wisdom, knowing when to give and when to set boundaries. A Stoic man, aware of his own limits, stands firm in his convictions, offering help only when it aligns with his values and does not compromise his inner peace. He understands that his well-being is paramount, and by caring for himself, he can be of service to others without losing himself in the process. Every moment spent catering to the demands of those who do not appreciate your strength erodes the very foundation of who you are. You must ask yourself, are you truly helping, or are you merely perpetuating a cycle of dependence? The best way to support others is often to empower them rather than allow them to lean on you excessively. Encourage self-reliance. Offer guidance when needed, but do not shoulder burdens that belong to others. By doing so, you not only protect your inner fortress, but also help those around you grow stronger in their own right. The challenge lies in finding that delicate balance between compassion and self-preservation. This balance requires introspection and the courage to say no when necessary. It's about recognizing that your kindness should not come at the expense of your own mental and emotional health. A true Stoic embodies the principles of moderation and temperance, acting with intention rather than being swept away by the currents of others' needs. Number 3. The silent betrayal of boundaries. In a world that often glorifies unyielding kindness, we may forget that genuine benevolence must be balanced with self-respect. The Stoics recognize that true kindness stems from a place of strength, a position fortified by well-defined boundaries. This internal fortress, our inner citadel, is where we cultivate our values, beliefs, and sense of self. When we allow our boundaries to be trampled in the name of kindness, we engage in a silent betrayal not just to ourselves, but to the very principles that guide us toward a meaningful life. Imagine your inner citadel as a sanctuary, a sacred space where only the most essential thoughts and emotions reside. The Stoics understood that this sanctuary requires vigilant protection. When kindness becomes a free pass for others to intrude upon our mental and emotional well-being, we risk transforming our citadel into a bustling marketplace filled with noise and chaos. This influx of external influences can drown out the still, quiet voice of reason that guides our actions and decisions. Thus, the true essence of who we are becomes obscured by the demands and expectations of others. The moment we neglect to say no, out of fear of disappointing others, we relinquish our power. This seemingly harmless act of accommodating others, often portrayed as an admirable trait, can lead us down a perilous path. Instead of standing firm in our convictions, we allow the world to dictate our priorities, our self-worth, and our limits. In these moments, we hand over the keys to our citadel, inviting unwanted chaos and confusion to infiltrate the very core of our existence. This forfeiture of control leads to a deeper crisis, the erosion of self-mastery. Self-mastery is the bedrock of Stoicism, a discipline that champions the idea that we are the architects of our own lives. By letting external pressures dictate our choices, we undermine our autonomy and diminish our capacity for rational thought. Each time we ignore our boundaries, we compromise our integrity, allowing others to define who we are and what we value. This is a betrayal not only to ourselves, but to the Stoic ideal of living in accordance with reason and virtue. Moreover, the repercussions of this silent betrayal extend far beyond individual experiences. When we fail to establish our boundaries, we inadvertently teach others that our kindness is limitless, opening the door for manipulation and exploitation. This dynamic can create a toxic cycle, where our good intentions are taken for granted, leaving us feeling drained and resentful. In failing to protect our inner citadel, we also allow our relationships to become one-sided, where our needs and desires are consistently overlooked. The path to reclaiming our power begins with recognizing the importance of boundaries. Setting boundaries does not equate to being unkind or indifferent. Rather, it is an assertion of self-respect and a commitment to living authentically. By clearly defining what we will and will not accept, we create a safe space where kindness can flourish without compromising our values. This balance allows us to extend compassion to others while simultaneously honoring our own needs, creating a more harmonious existence. Number 4. The mask of manipulation. In a world where kindness is often seen as a weakness, there lurks a shadow of manipulation that thrives on our innate desire to be compassionate. There are those who exploit this virtue, donning a mask of charm and friendliness while harboring ulterior motives. They smile sweetly as they advance their agendas, preying on your good nature. In their eyes, your willingness to help becomes an opportunity, a means to fulfill their desires, no matter the cost to you. They are acutely aware that your fear of being perceived as unkind will often compel you to acquiesce, making you an unwitting participant in their schemes. These manipulators often push the boundaries of what you are willing to give. With every request they make, whether it be your time, energy, or emotional resources, they test the limits of your kindness. You may find yourself surrendering more than you intended, driven by a dread of disappointing others or being labeled selfish. Each act of kindness you extend can feel like a debt, one that they are all too eager to collect. In this way, your good intentions can turn into a trap, chaining you to obligations that drain your spirit and vitality. The insidious nature of this manipulation can lead to a profound sense of resentment, not just toward those who take advantage of your kindness, but also toward yourself for allowing it to happen. The ancient Stoic philosopher Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism, recognized these dangers long ago. He emphasized that while small acts of kindness can contribute to a fulfilling life, they should never come at the expense of your own well-being. Zeno stated, "Well-being is realized by small steps, but it is truly no small thing." This profound insight reminds us that each seemingly harmless act of kindness can accumulate, leading to significant consequences for our mental and emotional health. When you continually prioritize the needs of others over your own, you gradually erode your sense of self and autonomy. Every time you yield to the demands of others, believing that kindness will pave the way for goodwill, you sacrifice a piece of your strength. This relinquishment is subtle. It doesn't happen all at once. Instead, it occurs in small increments. Each time you say yes when you mean no, or extend yourself beyond your limits to please others. Over time, these small compromises can snowball into a pattern of self-neglect, where your needs become secondary to the insatiable demands of those around you. As you navigate relationships, it is crucial to maintain a balance between kindness and self-preservation. Recognizing the motivations of others can empower you to establish boundaries that protect your well-being. The Stoics understood that true kindness should not come at the cost of your own happiness. To genuinely assist others, you must first ensure that you are in a stable place, emotionally, mentally, and physically. By fortifying yourself, you can offer kindness that is not merely a reflection of your willingness to please, but a conscious choice that enhances both your life and the lives of those you care for. Number 5. The decay of self-worth. The Stoics teach us that self-worth is deeply rooted in discipline and fortitude. It is a concept that emphasizes the importance of inner strength and the ability to withstand the pressures and challenges of life. When we cultivate a strong sense of self-worth, we draw from an internal reservoir of values and principles that guide our actions and decisions. However, there is a subtle danger that lurks beneath the surface of our relationships with others, particularly in the realm of kindness. When kindness is consistently demanded but never reciprocated, the very foundation of our self-worth begins to erode, leaving us vulnerable and diminished. In the throes of this unreciprocated kindness, we can easily fall into the trap of equating our value with our ability to serve others. We start measuring our worth not by who we are, but by what we can provide. This shift in perspective leads to a relentless pursuit of approval, where our self-esteem hinges on our capacity to give. We may find ourselves stretching our limits, bending over backward to meet the needs of others, often at the expense of our own well-being. The more we sacrifice without acknowledgement, the more we reinforce the belief that our value lies solely in our ability to cater to others' demands. Yet this is not the path laid out by Stoic philosophy. True Stoicism teaches us that our self-worth should not be contingent upon the approval or validation of others. We are not mere commodities to be measured by our output or the sacrifices we make. Instead, we must recognize that our worth is intrinsic, a product of our character and choices. This understanding liberates us from the incessant need for external validation, allowing us to stand firm in our own identity, irrespective of the world's whims. The Stoic approach urges us to cultivate a sense of self that is anchored in self-control and personal values. As Epictetus poignantly stated, "No man is free who is not master of himself." This mastery is not about denying kindness or generosity, but about ensuring that our actions align with our principles rather than being dictated by the expectations of others. When we give our kindness too freely, without discernment, we risk becoming enslaved to the very expectations we sought to satisfy, further decaying our sense of self. Self-control becomes our shield against this erosion of self-worth. By mastering our impulses and choosing when and how to extend kindness, we create boundaries that protect our inner self. This practice is not only a form of self-respect, but also an acknowledgement that our worth is inherent, not transactional. We must learn to give from a place of abundance rather than obligation, allowing our kindness to flow naturally without the fear of depletion or the desire for acknowledgement. In doing so, we preserve our integrity and nurture our self-worth. It is through the recognition of our own value that we can genuinely contribute to the world without losing ourselves in the process. Number 6. The absence of true justice. True justice is a concept that the Stoics held in the highest regard. For them, justice was not just about laws or fairness, but about maintaining balance in all aspects of life. The virtue of justice, when practiced correctly, brings harmony to our interactions with others and within ourselves. However, many fail to recognize that true justice cannot exist in isolation. It must be balanced with other virtues, particularly wisdom and courage. Without this balance, justice becomes tainted, and we risk falling into patterns of favoritism or weakness, confusing kindness for justice. Kindness, when left unchecked, can lead to favoritism. It may appear noble to always give and be compassionate, but kindness alone does not fulfill the Stoic ideal of justice. Favoritism occurs when kindness is distributed unevenly, when some receive more than they deserve at the expense of others. This creates an imbalance, and justice by its very nature demands balance. If kindness causes us to neglect our duties to others or to ourselves, it has distorted justice and has lost its true value. In essence, justice without balance is no longer justice. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, understood this well. In his Meditations, he advised, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." What he meant was that we should not let the actions or malice of others dictate how we respond. Instead, we must act according to reason and virtue, not emotion or fear. If we allow ourselves to be driven by the need to appease or to avoid conflict, we risk becoming the very thing we despise. Justice, according to Marcus, is about maintaining your integrity in the face of adversity, not letting your enemy's actions corrupt your own. When kindness dominates over justice, it is often a sign of weakness rather than strength. While it may feel virtuous to avoid conflict and maintain peace through endless kindness, such actions can stem from fear, not from courage or wisdom. Stoicism teaches us that true justice requires strength. It requires the courage to act with reason, even when that means standing up against those who might take advantage of our kindness. When kindness betrays this reason, it is no longer a virtue but a flaw that compromises our integrity. Justice, in its purest form, demands that we act with clarity and purpose. It requires us to be fair, not just to others, but to ourselves. There is a danger in letting blind compassion guide our actions, for it often leads us to make decisions that are unfair or unsound. True justice involves recognizing when kindness must be tempered by reason. It is not about withholding kindness, but about ensuring that it is applied in a way that upholds balance and fairness for all involved. The Stoics believed that justice should never be about appeasing others or avoiding conflict. Justice is about doing what is right, regardless of how uncomfortable or difficult it might be. When we allow kindness to overrule justice, we lose sight of what is right. Number 7. The loss of inner freedom. Excessive kindness, while seemingly virtuous, has the potential to strip away one of the most valuable treasures we possess, our inner freedom. What starts as a noble act of generosity can easily morph into a burden as you find yourself bending over backward to meet the needs of others. Over time, this can entangle you in the very chaos you sought to avoid. Rather than liberating you, the act of overgiving shackles your soul to the expectations and demands of the world around you. Stoicism teaches that true strength lies in detaching from external forces and cultivating resilience within. It encourages individuals to find peace amid the chaos, to rise above the noise of the world. However, when you are too kind, when you give too much of yourself, you end up tethering yourself to that same noise. Your thoughts become consumed by how others perceive you, and your actions are guided by the needs of those around you. This constant state of concern for others traps you in a cycle of dependence that eats away at your personal sovereignty. Seneca, one of Stoicism's great thinkers, reminds us that true happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future. Yet when your kindness is exploited, it is nearly impossible to live in the present. You find yourself perpetually anxious, worrying about whether you've done enough, how others will react, and if you've lived up to their expectations. This dependence on the reactions of others breeds anxiety and discontent, pulling you further away from the peace Stoicism promises. Excessive kindness, then, becomes the chain that binds you. It keeps you focused on external validation, making you a prisoner of other people's opinions and desires. Instead of living a life guided by your own values and principles, you begin to mold yourself into what others want or expect from you. The very freedom that Stoicism teaches, the ability to remain unaffected by the whims of others, is lost in the endless pursuit of pleasing everyone but yourself. What makes this loss of inner freedom so tragic is that it often happens slowly, without notice. You may not even realize how much of your strength and independence has been sacrificed on the altar of kindness until the weight of it becomes unbearable. By then, you are so deeply enmeshed in the expectations of others that reclaiming your autonomy feels like an impossible task. But the Stoics also teach us that it is never too late to reclaim our freedom. The path forward begins with a conscious choice to set boundaries and to recognize the limits of kindness. It is not about hardening your heart, but about learning to protect your own well-being. True kindness is measured, intentional, and most importantly, it is given freely, without sacrificing your inner peace. Only by doing so can you live in harmony with both yourself and the world. We who strive for true inner strength and resilience must come to a deep understanding of an essential truth. Kindness, in its purest form, can be a tremendous force for good. When we extend kindness wisely, we bring light into the lives of others, lift their spirits, and foster a sense of harmony. However, kindness is not without its risks. If we allow it to consume us, if we let it flow unchecked and indiscriminately, it can erode the very foundation of our strength. What begins as an act of goodwill can turn into something that drains our energy and weakens our resolve. When kindness is excessive, when it is offered blindly and without consideration, it can become a source of self-deception. We may believe we are doing the right thing, that by always being kind, we are bringing peace to ourselves and others, but this is a false promise. Excessive kindness, especially when it is not deserved, can make us vulnerable. It can strip us of our personal power, leaving us at the mercy of those who may take advantage of our generosity. We cannot allow ourselves to be fooled by the idea that endless kindness will always lead to good outcomes. Instead, we must recognize that kindness must be balanced with wisdom and strength. It is not about being unkind or withholding compassion from those who truly need it, but about knowing when and where to draw the line. Compassion should be offered to those who deserve it, those who can benefit from it in a meaningful way. But it should never come at the expense of our own freedom, dignity, or personal power. We must learn to protect ourselves, to guard our inner strength, and not to let kindness be a tool that others use to manipulate us. In Stoic philosophy, this idea of protecting our inner strength is often referred to as guarding the inner citadel. The inner citadel represents the core of who we are, the seat of our strength, our character, and our values. It is the place within us that must remain fortified, no matter what happens in the world around us. We should offer kindness, yes, but we must also maintain firm boundaries. We cannot allow the world's demands or the expectations of others to breach the walls of our inner citadel and weaken our resolve. To follow the Stoic path is to remain unbreakable. It is about learning to be unyielding in the face of pressure, always maintaining control over our own actions and emotions. The Stoic is not someone who is swayed by the desires of others or by the fear of displeasing those around them. Instead, the Stoic is someone who makes decisions based on reason, wisdom, and strength. This means being kind when kindness is appropriate, but also being firm when firmness is required. It means not allowing ourselves to be taken advantage of or manipulated under the guise of kindness. Living as a Stoic requires that we master the balance between compassion and self-protection. It's not about being cold or unfeeling, It's about understanding that true strength lies in knowing when to extend a hand and when to stand firm. We must not let the desire to be kind lead us into situations where we lose our freedom or compromise our values. Stoicism teaches us that strength comes from within, and that we must be vigilant in protecting that strength at all costs.